So this video is to help you to solve equations with decimals by getting rid of the decimals. It is not the only way to do this, but it is one good way to do it if you are uncomfortable with decimals. And we'll do a good job of solving the equation as long as the decimals are gone and you are not getting confused by them. So here are the steps, okay? So this is a 3-step process. Again, it is not the only way to do it. This is just one way to do it. So step 1, you're going to simplify each side of the equation just enough to distribute any parentheses and get rid of fractions. So these two things, all right? And that's going to make it easier for you to get rid of the decimals without making a mistake. So for my example here, there are no parentheses to distribute to, and there are no fractions. So I'm not going to have to worry about step 1. So I can skip step 1. So step 1, done. Step 2, right here. Get rid of decimals by multiplying by 10 or 100 or 1,000 or some power of 10. Well, how do you know which one? Well, in order to get rid of a decimal, for example, if there's only one decimal, you're going to multiply by a power of 10 that has only 1 0. If there are 2 decimals in the number, then you have to multiply by 100 because there are 2 decimal places, so you need 2 zeros in there. And if I multiply by 100, I will get rid of that decimal. If there are 3 decimals, 1, 2, 3, 3 numbers after the decimal, and you're going to want to multiply by 1,000. You're going to want 3 zeros. So that is to help you figure out what you're going to multiply by. And so you want to look at your problem and find out which number has the most decimals. So this one has only 1, this has only 1, this has only 1. So the most decimals is 1. And then you want to multiply by a power of 10 that has that many zeros. So I'm going to multiply this by 10. Step 2. And I'm going to multiply the entire equation by 10. So I'm going to rewrite it just to make it kind of a little clearer what's going on. And so I am going to distribute that 10 to the 12. It's going to be 10 times 12, which is 120. And then 10 times minus 5.2x. The 10 to the front. So remember that multiplying by 10 means that you're just going to move the decimal with this over, so that's going to become minus 2x, or you can do it in your calculator as 10 times 5.2. On the other side, I'm going to do 10 times negative 2.7x. Again, I moved the decimal place 1 over, so that's going to be negative 2.7x. And then I'm going to multiply 10 times negative 8.3. And that's not fitting, so just do that 10 times negative 8.3, that's going to be negative 83. And then last but not least is 10 times k. So just remember that there's an invisible 1 in front of that k, so it's 1 times 10, which is plus 10k. That's going to be plus 10k. Okay, so I have gotten rid of my decimals. You should now be able to solve this if you're, you should already know how to, this is assuming you already know how to solve equations and you just need help with decimals. So step 3 is just solve using normal steps. That's what we're going to do. Now, this part I'm going to do quickly. Again, I'm assuming that you already know how to solve equations and you just need to help with the decimals. I'm going to take that negative 52 at, oops, I changed this to a k for some reason. Let's actually, so that's an x, that's a 1x. Okay. So then I'm going to combine these like terms. Negative 27x plus 10x is negative 7x minus negative 3. You're going to add 52x to both sides. You're going to do that on a calculator. And I would at this point stop the video and just see if you can do this on your own. And then add 83 to both sides. Get rid of that number here, so that's going to be 203. To solve for x, you're going to divide both sides by 35. That's in my calculator. And I'm going to get 5.8. So x equals 5.8. Okay. All right. So hopefully if you need that, you're going to pause the video. Otherwise, I'm going to erase all of that. We can do a couple more examples. This is number 4 on your worksheet. If you want to take a look at that. This is number 4 on the worksheet. Okay, so again, step 1, simplify each side of the equation, distribute the parentheses, and get rid of the fractions. So here there are no fractions, but there is parentheses. So let's actually just mark that off. This is what I'm going to simplify for step 1, okay? Step 1, I'm going to distribute to make it easy. Now, again, you don't have to do this. I will actually show you a different way to do the same problem later. But here, I'm going to distribute it because if you're uncomfortable with decimals, it's going to be easier for you to simplify the parentheses first so that you don't make a mistake. So this is going to be 8.55x. And then this is going to be 0.9. All right, so I've gotten rid of the parentheses and there were no fractions. Okay, so step 2, get rid of decimals by multiplying by 10 or 100 or 1,000. So take a look and see if you can figure out what to multiply by and do that yourself. You might want to pause the video. Trusting that you did that, the number that has the most decimals, well, this has 2 decimals. This also has 2 decimals. This only has 1. So the most decimals that any one number has is 2. So we're going to multiply by 100. This has 2 zeros in it. So I'm going to distribute that to the entire equation. That's going to be 100 times that, which is 524. 100 times that, which is 500x. 100 times that, which is 855x. 100 times that, which is 900. And then I solve as normal, which I am going to leave up to you because, again, this video is assuming you know how to solve equations and you're just uncomfortable with that. All right. I want to now go back and do this equation a different way, but if you like the way that we've already done it, you're comfortable with it, then I would stick to that. If you're comfortable with that and it's easy peasy, and you want to do this problem a little faster and you want to skip step 1, there is a way to skip step 1 for these problems, but you have to be very comfortable with equations. If I go all the way back to the original problem right here, okay, I'm going to do the same problem in blue. I can actually figure out what I need to multiply by. I can skip step 1, so I'm going to skip step 1 altogether, and I can go straight to step 2. Get rid of the decimals, okay? So I'm going to still take a look at every number and see how many decimals I want to get rid of. So this one has 2 decimals. This one looks like it only has 1 decimal, but if I look ahead and I see that I'm going to end up distributing this, I should be able to see ahead that it might end up with as many as 2 decimals. But the most decimals that's going to end up with is 2. So I'm just going to keep that in mind while I'm figuring out what to multiply by. So the most decimals I see here is 2, because the 5.24 has 2, and then the 9.5 and 0.9 might have as many as 2. Okay. Anything else? We'll leave that alone. All right, so I'm going to take this and I'm going to multiply this straight by 100 straight off the bat. So I'm skipping step 1 and I'm going straight to step 2. Now be careful when you do this. I'm going to clean that up a little bit because it's quite messy. I'm not going to multiply that 100 to the entire equation. I'll just right. Copy the original equation. There we go. Okay. When I distribute the 100 to this number, it just becomes 524 as usual. When I distribute this to that becomes 5 plus 500. Okay, so that's normal. And when I distribute the 100 to this, I have to be careful because I have to choose whether to distribute it to the 9.5 or the parentheses. I cannot distribute it to both because then I'm multiplying by 100 twice. Again, let me show you it to you a different way. If I multiply the right-hand side by 100, it's really 100 times 9.5 times 0.9x plus 1, which means I should only multiply by 100 once. So if I multiply it by the 9.5, I do not multiply it again to the second parentheses because I've already multiplied by 100 once. If I only have one 100, I only multiply it to one of the parentheses. And then, for example, here, if I multiply 9.5 by 100, I'll get 950. And if I distribute that 950 to the parentheses, the 100 was already in the 9.5, so it will actually be distributed to the 0.99 in the ones correctly. If I multiply by 100 again, on the other hand, and change this to 90x, it will be incorrect. So that would be not what you want, okay? If I were to distribute this, you'll see that you'll end up with the same answer as in purple. So if I were to distribute this, I'm going to end up on the calculator, try that out, you'll get 5x plus 950. You see that the blue equation where I skipped step 1 and the purple equation are exactly the same equation. So you can skip that first step as long as you understand that you're only going to multiply 100 times either the GCF or either the number in front of the parentheses or the expression inside the parentheses with output. Okay, you can choose what to do. Okay, let's go ahead and do another example. Let's do one with fractions. So if you want to take a look, we're going to try number 6 from your worksheet. So I'm going to choose. So the example is number 6. Okay, so for this problem, step 1 is I want to simplify each side of the equation. So I want to distribute to the parentheses because there are no parentheses, and I want to get rid of the fraction. There is a fraction right there. I need to get rid of that fraction. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to remember that to get rid of a fraction, I have to find the LCD, which is 2, and multiply the entire equation by 2 first. So for step 1, I'm going to multiply the entire equation by 2 in that denominator, so it should be 2 over 1, or 2, okay. Then I multiply 2 times 13. I'm going to get 26 minus 2 times 6.4 over 2. And this is where it comes in handy to turn that into 2 over 1. So it's clear that this is going to cancel, and you can end up with minus 6.4. No more fractions. I want it. And then I'm going to multiply the 2 times 1.8x. It's going to end up being 3.6x plus 2 times 4.5. It's going to be 20. Step 2, get rid of the decimal by multiplying by 10 or 100 or 1,000. This has only one decimal, this has only one decimal, so think about what you're going to multiply by. Hopefully you figured out you're going to multiply by 10 to get rid of one decimal. So that's going to be 260 minus 64x. Don't forget the second side of the equation, 36x plus 210. No more decimals, you should be more comfortable solving that, and you can do step 300. Okay, so I leave step 3 up to you. Again, We can skip step 1 for this problem if you want. That's optional. So if you're comfortable doing it the other way, I would just stick to that. But if you're very comfortable, you can actually skip getting rid of the fraction as long as you remember cubes. So if you go back to the original problem, as long as you remember what you're multiplying by and what you're not multiplying by. So if I skip straight to step 2 here, in the purple way, I'd multiply the whole thing straight off the bat by 10 because there's still only one decimal at most. So I would do 10 times 13, which is 130. 10 times 6.4, only the numerator, not the denominator, because 10 is the same thing as 10 over 1. That means 10 times 6.4 on the top is minus 64, and then 1 times 2 on the bottom is 64 for 2. Okay? And the same thing, 10 times 1.8 is going to be 18x. 10 times 10.5 is going to be plus 105. And you will end up with the same answer at the end if you do the rest of the algebra correctly. And there's still no decimal. So the green way is the more straightforward way. The purple way is a little bit more intermediate. So don't use it unless you're very comfortable that you're not going to make a mistake there. Okay. And I will leave the rest up to you.